process is going to come naturally, and it doesn't, quite honestly. So lactation nurse came in, and she came in and brought the pump, and she left. You came with the little nipple, and I mean, you had the baby. I knew the holes though. Hello, welcome to the My Mommy, My Baby channel, where we are here to share life stories, laugh, grow, and share expertise around the area of motherhood, right?
Yes.
So as an organization, we serve moms that are transitioning kind of from that pregnancy phase all the way to their baby turns one. This is one of our moms. She's part of our mom community, and she's done some lactation sessions with us. And so we are so happy to have her share her story. This is a big deal, right? The first mom that we have to share her story. So I wanted to say that I am a nurse coach. My name is Courtney Anderson. I'm the owner and founder of My Mommy, My Baby. I'm a registered nurse, a certified lactation counselor, a mom of 3, and a wife of 1. One of my favorite quotes is by David Biscott, and it is, "The purpose of life is to discover your gift. The work of life is to develop it, and the meaning of life is to give your gift away." So Nakesha has allowed me to give my gift away to her. And I really, really appreciate you for doing that, because as you grow, I grow.
You're welcome. I'm honored.
So let's get into this interview, right?
All right.
So she sent me a few little facts about her for her intro, because this is an amazing woman of God, first off. An amazing wife, an amazing fiance, an amazing mom, so many hats. And so she's going to share all of that with the world today, because she is so brave in her vulnerability, right?
Right.
So she describes herself, and I'm going to let her elaborate on this one for me. Modest and unassuming. That's different. She's achieved some big life goals. You know, many of us have these goals in life, and we set off to achieve them, but we have stumbling blocks. But she has a bachelor's of arts degree in communication, a master's of business administration, and currently works as a provider network account executive. Come on. All of Nakesha's education and personal experiences, you know what it didn't prepare her for? Motherhood. Motherhood is something that will come in and take you by surprise. All the plans and the books that you read is nothing like that, and will completely change who you thought you were.
Right.
We're going to get into that. She is a mother of a 4-month-old baby girl right there on the screen. Beautiful little Tori. And she is so bright and bubbly. And honestly, how would you describe Tori's personality?
She's happy.
She really is. But she wants what she wants.
Yeah.
She wants what she wants. And Nakesha is, tell me your age one more time.
I am 41.
41 years old, first baby. So that's a story in itself.
It is.
The fact that some women think that when they get a certain age, what they call it, geriatric pregnancy, right? Okay, you had a baby at 41, your first baby. That's a miracle. Amazing. So, at her early age, she was taught that she can do all things through Christ who strengthens her. So obviously, we need a strong backing, right? That foundation has been laid. And her favorite quote is by Oprah Winfrey. "I believe the choice to become a mother is the choice to become one of the greatest spiritual teachers there is." And I'm going to let you elaborate on that as well. And she is excited to be here today to share her experiences, her thoughts, her wisdom, and her journey and commitment to motherhood and breastfeeding, because breastfeeding is a journey.
All by itself.
So let's get into the unassuming, modest, unassuming. What makes you describe yourself that way?
First of all, I'm a very, very, very private person.
Mm-hmm.
So to be here today, to open my mind up to, being here today is a big step for me. Mm-hmm. So just modest in who I am. Like I don't have to make a lot of noise when I enter a room. I'm always watching and I'm watchful, and so yeah, that's why. And like many people see, but few know.
Okay. Oh wow. Many people see, but few know. That's a quote that should be on a shirt. So you mean that many people think they know you by just seeing what they see, but it's so many layers to you deep down, and it takes time and only people
Correct.
can access that.
Correct.
Okay, I like that. Necessary. Okay. So what are your current roles that you play? I know I named a few of them, but there are many others I heard.
I am a daughter. Mm-hmm. I'm a sister. I am a friend. I am a business owner. I'm a fiance. And last but not least, my newest role is mother.
And would you say that is the role that is the most challenging or has been the most unexpected?
Yes. Yes.
Even though, and believe it or not, she planned for this, right?
I did.
So don't believe that just because you plan for it, that your plan is gonna just lay itself out perfectly, because motherhood is designed to challenge you.
Right.
It's designed to kind of show you a mirror of who you are and really assess what are those things that you want to bring into motherhood, what are some things that you want to tweak, what are some things that are doing it by itself, because that happens.
Right.
Even though we come into it as being a woman first, but that woman begins to shape and change as we evolve in motherhood.
Correct. It's only been 4 months and I'm feeling it.
Do you feel different from before you became pregnant?
Yes.
Yes, we're gonna get into that. So, like we said, little Tori is 4 months old, and she is the cutest thing ever. Y'all saw her, right? The cutest thing ever. Post down below if you think she's the cutest thing ever. If you don't think so, don't post.
Right.
So her name is Tori. So tell me a little bit about your birth experience. I just kind of want to know.
So, I didn't have any complications. I didn't have any morning sickness. I had a healthy, peaceful pregnancy. My birth experience, it went really well because I already had an established relationship with my OB. And so this is the person that has been asking me since 36, what you gonna do?
Hey, what would you say?
I'm not ready yet.
The end, period.
I'm not ready yet. She asked me that up until 39.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, okay, I'm ready.
So what was the deciding factor that you went from no to at 40 saying, yes, I'm ready?
Well, first of all, I thought that I didn't want a kid. Mm-hmm. But someone told me something one day and it made me, I always kept it in the back of my mind. And so I was like, I don't want kids. And the person told me, you've never met a man that makes you want to have a kid.
Yes.
And so I met my fiance and it changed. And so we had a discussion, like a serious discussion of, do we want it to be just he and I for the rest of our life? Because I was good either way. Mm-hmm. I had gotten to the point where I was good either way. And so we had that conversation and we decided that we didn't want it to just be us. anymore.
Okay. So how long from that decision did you actually become pregnant?
Probably 2 years, because I had some things come up in between. So we decided that we were gonna try, and but prior to even trying, I found out that I had fibroids.
Wow.
And so when I found that out in 2020. So yeah, I had the myomectomy at the end of 2020, and so that was we were supposed to start in 21.
Mm-hmm.
And so my doctor was like, well, you would have the surgery at the end of 2020. So I did, and had the surgery. Everything, went well with the surgery. A week after the surgery, I broke out in a rash.
Really?
And they could not get it. I was hospitalized for an additional 7 days. They could not get it under control.
And what kind of rash is
this? It was just all over above my incision, and it started to spread onto my stomach.
So obviously it was probably a reaction to something within the surgery.
We think it was the Aspiral, the medicine that they spray in you right before they close you up.
Oh gosh.
So, needless to say, I was like, no ma'am.
Yeah, understandable.
Because I knew that she would have to. I probably would have to go in again, and I was like, oh no.
Mm-hmm.
Well, my doctor, she's amazing, and she was like, don't let this deter you. Please don't let this deter you. And I was like, girl, I'm gonna pray about it.
Isn't it crazy how people so when God wants you to do something, He constantly puts people in your path to push you along that journey. The first person was your friend who told you never met a man that made you want to have a baby.
Right.
Right. That plays in your head. Then your doctor pushing you into
right.
the motherhood role.
Right.
And to you, it probably was just kind of coincidences, right?
Right.
You think, but now looking back, you realize that it really wasn't.
No.
It really wasn't coincidences. So you broke out, you had the surgery, and now you met me.
Okay, and then you have to wait a certain period of time or whatever. So we waited that time frame, and we started trying.
Right.
At the beginning of the first quarter of 2021.
Okay.
I got a positive pregnancy test in June. It was actually Father's Day.
Wow.
Of 2021. Had to wait 8 weeks to see the doctor, which that's different now because, so I had to wait 8 weeks to see the doctor.
They typically like you to kind of get through that beginning stages of high probability of you possibly having a miscarriage, because it's a high percentage of people that have miscarriages in the first trimester. Right.
So that's exactly what happened whenever I went in for the 8 weeks. They thought it was like a little early. They were like, oh, well, maybe you were a little bit farther, not as far along as we thought. Mm-hmm. So I had to wait the 2 weeks. And went back, and they still didn't, feel a heartbeat, hear the heartbeat.
So at this point, you were 10 weeks, or you were 8 weeks?
I was 10 weeks.
You were 10 weeks. Okay.
I was 10 weeks because it was like they thought maybe that I was earlier than what they thought, but it wasn't. It was accurate. It was accurate.
Wow. So at 10 weeks, they didn't hear a heartbeat.
They didn't hear a heartbeat.
So how did you feel leaving that appointment?
I was okay. I was kind of prepared. I mean, I've had other friends that told me don't be alarmed if after you have the myomectomy that you may miscarry or whatever. It's just your body trying to figure out what to do, and most likely you will get pregnant. So I had a few people that told me that, so I wasn't alarmed. I was like, okay, that's fine. So yeah, I was okay. So we left that appointment and saw my doctor, and she was like, well, that's not what we were hoping for, and she just told me what the process was or whatever. So they consider that a miscarriage. So I had that procedure, which is the DNC, and I had that, and then I had to heal from that, and then we started trying January at the end of 2021.
The perseverance here is what's getting me. The fact that I don't want a baby, and then I find out I have fibroids. I need to have surgery. I have a horrible reaction to the medicine. And then I find out I have a miscarriage. I need a DNC. But I'm still pushing into motherhood because it's something I'm supposed to do.
Right. And I still was my initial, I always had the same posture of I'm okay either way.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just wanted to try, because if I tried and it didn't happen, I could say that I tried. But if I never tried, then I wouldn't know.
Yeah.
And so that was the mind frame that I had. And
so how often do we stop? Just all kind of other things that, we have to persevere through. It looks like someone dropped clocks, and then we stop right before
right.
promise.
Right.
That's a whole thing. So.
Right. Yeah. So we did that. So we tried, and we got a positive pregnancy test. Yeah, we started at the end of 2020. So by February of 22, I was pregnant.
Wow. So did this one feel different? Did it feel like it was definitely this time?
Like once I got the positive pregnancy test, I was on edge just because of what happened before. And I was so on edge that I didn't share with anybody until I was like 6 months.
Really?
Well, I shared with my mom first at the 14 weeks. My mom was on, and I was like, you can't tell anybody. And so, I didn't share. And let me tell you why I didn't share. I didn't share because the first time I shared with, some of my closest people, and they had a different reaction than what I had. And so it made me feel like, was I supposed to have a different reaction than what I had? So they took it a little bit harder than what I did.
So they were sad and all of this, and you were kind of like, okay, this is just something that happens sometimes. And
right.
God has already given me the grace that I need to get through it, and I'm ready to move on to the next.
Yeah, because when we left the appointment with the doctor, she was like, these are the 2 or 3 things that you can do, for this process.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, wait a minute. I was like, so there's something in there and it has to come out. And she's like, yes. I was like, okay. So she was like, you have these options. And I was like, she was like, y'all don't have to make a decision right now. You have to go home, think about it. So as we're walking out the doctor, I was like, what do you want to do? And he's like, whatever you want to do. And I said, I definitely want to have the procedure. And I was like, let's get it scheduled.
And let's talk about a couple of those options. So she
Okay.
probably told you that you can, she can give you something that you can go into labor naturally and deliver, basically.
And pass it. And I was like, I don't want to be at home. I think I probably that right there would have took me out. So
yeah, I mean, because I think people don't realize that it's really you having to contract and have a baby.
Right.
So that's one of the options. The other option is a DNC, which is what she had, where they basically surgically removed it and everything is. They know that it's all cleaned out and it's done.
Correct.
And what other option did she give you?
I think that was the only 2.
Okay.
But sometimes when you take the, I think they give you something to take.
They usually give you Cytoseg or something to help soften your cervix and make you start contracting.
Right, but sometimes it doesn't all
come out,
and then you still have to.
Yeah, so you end up getting an infection. And
right, so when I knew that was the process, I was like, oh no, I'll just go straight to surgery.
That makes sense. The fact, I just can't get over your attitude around it. It was just so positive the whole time. That's amazing to me.
But that's who I am. That's who I am. And so my fiance and I, we're pretty much on the same page. The same kind of, it was no emotional roller coaster. To be honest with you, sometimes I forget that that happened. That's a part of my story until my friend mentioned it, and I'm like, oh yeah, right. Because we were talking about something the other day, and she was like, she said it, and I was like, oh yeah, okay.
Okay, so fast forward, you get a positive pregnancy test.
Right.
And then
I get a positive pregnancy test, and I have to wait the 8 weeks again.
It probably felt like
torture.
Right, I was saying it probably felt like 6 months.
Yes.
Even though you waited 6 months. Did you tell your best friend?
No.
So like, you didn't even tell your best friend. Wow.
And I told her the first time, but I held it the second time because I was like, like I said, everybody had a different.
You didn't want to have to deal with those.
Yeah, I don't have to deal with those emotions or whatever. So I was just like, we held it.
Wow.
We held it. And so when I told my mom. So I told my mom first, and then I told my dad, and I did like something cute for both of them to tell them. And then that's when I started, like, after I told my dad, and that's when I started telling like my friends. And so what I did was I told them that I didn't, I forgot to give them a Mother's Day card because I was out of town for Mother's Day. And so I got Mother's Day cards, or I got like friendship cards of telling them how great of a friend they are. And I put a lottery ticket in there.
Oh.
And so everybody was like reading their card and like, what is this for? And I was like, well, you're such a great friend to me, and I just wanted you to know. And I was like, I got you a lottery ticket, but I have to put it on camera because if you win, you have to. Well, how much are you going to give me? And I needed to record it so that you give me that amount.
They ain't believe that.
Yeah.
You better be real convincing. Real convincing.
So we did that, and that's when we like started telling people. But I was that 6 months? I was like 5 months.
Okay,
like,
so you like 20 weeks.
Yeah.
Okay. That's good though, because honestly, viability, we consider, babies being able to make it past like 22 weeks or so, 23 weeks. And so,
right.
That's okay.
So I waited.
Good. And that's probably beautiful because you were able to share those first 5 months with just your fiance.
Yes. I'm glad you brought that up. Yeah, it was like we were just in a bubble, and it was just like only we knew. And it's so funny because like when we would go different places or whatever, like I was still wearing like bigger dresses and stuff, so people really didn't know. So I'll be like, how look? And he's like, you look fine. I'm like, okay, you can't tell, huh?
What do you say? No,
man. Like, no, you look fine. I'm like, okay. Especially like if we went like around his mom or like we went places, I was just like, or we had an event or something like that. So I'm just like, can you see it? Like, am I hiding it well? And he was like, yes, Keisha.
But you think everybody can see it.
Yes.
So fast forward to you having a birth, and you knew from the beginning that you would have to have another C-section, or you would have to have a C-section due to the fibroid and the myomectomy situation.
Correct.
So did you feel any kind of, way about knowing that a vaginal birth was not a possibility? Or was it just that kind of like, I just want to have this baby? Sure.
Right, like that doesn't matter. That didn't matter to me. Like it's so funny what my doctor said. She was like, "So you're gonna have to have a C-section." I was like, "Great, I hadn't planned on pushing anyway."
So God perfectly wrapped this little package up exactly how you desired it to be.
Right.
Yes. This is amazing.
He gives you the desires of your heart.
He does. He does. So you have your C-section. You said the C-section went well.
It went well.
Yeah. So your experience in the hospital, how was that after delivery?
So it was fine or whatever. I did have to advocate for myself on 2 occasions. One occasion was when I ended like a day before I was supposed to go home. Because my doctor asked me, she said, do you want to stay an extra day? And I was like, yes. Mm-hmm. And so that night, I started getting hives by the incision again.
Oh, God.
And I was like, oh, my God. So
Not
again. I called the nurse. But this time, they knew, the first time they had to try a few different things before they got it under control. They even went back in.
Wow.
So... yeah, so with that, so after that, so what I did was I called the nurse in and I showed it to her. I was like, she said, okay, we're going to call the doctor on call. I said, no, I'm going to call my doctor because this has happened before and she knows exactly what to do and she knows what to send you, what to tell you guys to give me. And
I love that fire because when you don't have that, unfortunately, they can kind of just do whatever we want in the hospital. And I have worked in hospitals before because we don't know, you know, and the doctors on call don't know you don't know your body. And the fact that you were able to say, no, send my doctor.
Right.
Because the situation could have gone differently. They probably would have given you whatever they normally
But they were going to give me
probably some Benadryl.
No, they were going to give me atopical, like a cream.
Yeah, I'm sure.
No,
yeah.
ma'am, I need something else.
That's typically what you would go to. You know, oh, she may be having a little allergic reaction. Let's give her some cream and maybe some Benadryl.
Yeah, I was like, I know what this could be.
That's not going to work, right?
Right.
So, wonderful. And what was the other occasion?
And the other occasion was I decided that I was going to breastfeed.
Mm-hmm.
And
you prepared for it. You went to classes. You had a lactation person come. You had a lactation person on call.
I did.
Wow.
Yes.
And
just from the conversation with you and just with like other people, my friends, I knew certain things. So I knew that lactation would come in. I knew that I knew to keep my baby in the room with me if I wanted her to feed her every couple of hours. Like I was educated on what I needed to do. The only thing was the actual doing it.
Because that education empowers you.
Yes.
You know the things that you need to do, but it's hard when you have people saying, no, we're going to do this.
Right.
And you knowing what's needed.
Yeah.
So that's when it takes the guts got to come up, you know.
So the lactation nurse came in and she came in and fried the pump and she left.
And you knew that wasn't right.
I was like, I don't even know what this. I don't even know what to do with this. So I'm still trying to breastfeed her, like feed her, like let her latch. And I mean, I didn't know what I was doing. So I was so frustrated. I was able to reach out to you to get advice on what to do. And, you know, my friend was, you know, advocating for me, telling me what to do also. And I just called the nurse and I was like, number one, there's a language barrier. And like, I'm in tears.
Yeah.
Number one, there's a language barrier. Number two, she just came about this pump in here. I don't know what to do with it. And three, she hasn't sat in here to even like show me what to do, like how to latch her. And, you know, and they kept saying, like when she did latch, you know, it's like, oh, well, she can have formula. And I did not want to give her formula. Mm-hmm. So my baby stayed in the room with me the whole time and I nursed her.
You did. Because you did a few things. You said that, hey, I need somebody to stay in here with me until this baby latches.
Right.
And if she does not, I need to figure out what is the next step.
Right.
You didn't let it let up, because if you do, unfortunately, because there's so many other women, you know, having babies in the hospital, they will kind of leave it up to you sometimes to fend for yourself, and you feel alone in it. You're a new mom, you don't know what you're doing. Latching a baby from watching videos and latching a baby in real life,
it's totally different. Like, you came with your little nipple, and I mean, we had the baby. I knew the holes though.
You did. Two different things.
Now you had to hold her. I was gonna have the football hole. I stood firm on that. I was like, the football hole. I held her, and then I was like,
and then she did nothing.
Nothing happened.
So ultimately, that really helped start your journey, because if you would have said, okay, give her formula, give her a bottle full of formula, and it would have expanded her tummy to the size of however many ounces they gave her, that would have been even more difficult for you to be able to latch. So you advocating for yourself made all the difference in your journey.
Right. Yeah. And preparing before.
Yeah.
Like, it's so funny because I pondered on, I saw your post for the My Mommy, My Baby seminar day.
Oh, the learning
tree. Mm-hmm. And I saw it, and then I was like, oh no, like, I'll wait. And I was like, man, I'm going to run out of time. And the reason why I was hesitant is because it was the day before my baby shower.
True. Because how many weeks were you? You were kind of like 30... maybe 4-ish or something. I want to say.
Yeah, because it was August.
Yes.
So yeah. It was a little less than that because I had her in October.
Okay, so you were somewhere in later 20s.
Yeah, later 20s. So that, like, coming there and seeing ladies that look like me and just to have the knowledge, and I was like, man, and then I found out that you do the lactation, like you'll come to my house, and I had been looking for that, and I was like, oh yeah, this is great. So just you coming into my home and, you know, having a session with my fiance and I, like, it was very empowering so that I could advocate for myself, you know, in the hospital. Like, you told me about the colostrum coming in, that, you know, that would be enough to feed her.
Huge deal. Your colostrum is enough to feed your baby for the first 3 days until your milk comes in. Feed them often, and it's necessary.
And I was able to pass that information on to another mommy, you know, that I knew. She was like a month after me. And so I told her, I was like, it's enough. Don't let them tell you differently. And so I fed her the entire time she was in the hospital. We were there. I had on Thursday, and we went home on Sunday.
Wow.
So
I'm so happy that you did that, though, because so many women don't have the access to either the knowledge or just you kind of think that because it's a natural process, it's going to come naturally, and it doesn't, quite honestly. And kind of go further into your journey with that, because after a couple of weeks, you know, you still were having some problems with latching her and things like that. And kind of what did that look like for you, and where have you landed with your breastfeeding journey?
So we came home, and like, I was in contact with you, and you were like, has your milk come in yet? And I was like, I don't think so. Because when people that have breastfed or whatever, it's like they tell you what to expect or whatever. And I was just like, that's not happening. Like, no. I was like, then one day I got in the shower, I was like, oh, they're heavy. I was like,
they feel like rocks. And
I think if I text you said it's in, I think so. But it has been a journey, like, to the point where I didn't think that there was, like, I thought I had a production issue. And we hadn't gotten there yet, as far as some other things that happened that I had to go strictly to pumping. I went from feeding her on demand for 2 months.
Yeah.
Which was your recommendation, and I'm glad that I did it. I fed her exclusively nursed her for 8 weeks.
Yeah.
And then I started incorporating the pumping, and that's a totally
a whole different beast.
Like, I started pumping a few times a day, and then I was able to store some. So it was going okay. Some days I'd be a little disappointed. You know, I didn't pump for 30 minutes, and I got 1 ounce per breast. But through this entire journey, I have been able to successfully feed my baby.
Just breast milk.
Just
and it
breast
has
milk.
never run out, and it's always been just enough. I think that's one of your messages that he wants. You know, he shows us things in our journey in motherhood, and, you know, causes that flexibility to be a little different. And I know that was something that you didn't really want to budge on, doing formula and things like that.
You know, that was my first fear. Whenever you asked us at the retreat, what was our fear? My fear was that I wanted to breastfeed and I wouldn't be able to. So that was my fear. But once I got the knowledge, and then once I was able to advocate for myself, I was like, okay, I got it. And I was like, I'm going to do this no matter what.
Okay. So tell me, going forward then, okay, your baby, you breastfed exclusively for 8 weeks. And around how many weeks was she when you kind of took her to the doctor and you needed to advocate for her further for her medical needs? Okay,
so at 8 weeks, she went for her first shots. So Miss Tori from day one has been a noisy breather and feeder.
Right.
And it's like, is that normal? What is going on? I've been around babies before. I've never heard them sound like this. But, I've given babies back to their mom. So it's just like, my fiance and I, we were very like, is that normal type thing? So I was like, okay, well, we'll get through the first few weeks or whatever. When she goes to her first appointment, I had like 8 things on my list that I was asking her about. And
make a list. Okay.
Yes, definitely.
You get in there, you always forget.
Oh, and another tip that my friend told me, whatever the problem is, make it's new age, make a video.
Yes.
So when I went to the doctor, I was able to play the video, play the sound of her, how she was breathing.
Yes.
So I did that too. But went to the first pediatrician and we had an 8-week shot. And when she came in, I was feeding her, whatever. And then I told her, I was like, do you hear the sound that she's making? I was like, is that normal? So it was like, she had like a little rattling. She snored. I wanted to know if that was common. It was like 8 things.
Yeah.
And like, I told that to the nurse, and then the doctor comes in, and I will say this, she addressed every one of my concerns. She had an answer for every single thing
which is wonderful.
She had an answer. And at the end of the day, basically, I was told that all of that was normal for a newborn.
Right. So in your heart though, when you left there, what did you feel? Did you feel like it was normal? Did you feel like it needed something to be addressed further?
At first I was like, okay, she said it's normal. But like, it progressively got, like once we got home, like, the weeks to come, it progressively got worse. Well, when we got home, I was like, not weeks, I'll take that back. When we got home, probably a week later, I was listening to her breathe, and I told my fiance, I was like, I want a second opinion. And then the next morning, I talked to my best friend, and she confirmed. She was like, I was going to tell you that I think maybe you should see another pediatrician. And I was like, it's so funny you say that and so then
confirmation.
That was confirmation for me. And so I asked a few people, and I got some recommendations, and then I looked them up online, and I decided to go, make an appointment with one. And so from there, went to the appointment, a totally different experience, might I add.
Mm-hmm.
So this doctor walks in, and I'm feeding her, and she says, wow, she's a noisy feeder. And I said, that's why I'm here today.
Mm-hmm.
And so she checked her out and like gave me some of the same information that the first doctor gave me, but she was like, I think I want to explore it a little further. She was like, I'm going to give you a referral to ENT.
Yes.
I left that appointment with a referral to ENT, and then Tori also had a hernia.
Mm-hmm.
So we left with 2 referrals.
So at this point, were you overwhelmed? Was it kind of like, at least now somebody's sending me somewhere to get further help? What did you feel in that moment? In
that moment, I just felt like, okay, I will at least know she's going to a specialist that specializes in it. So if it is something, then they'll find it.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to know if this is normal. I mean, Tori was sounding like a grown man.
Yes. Yes. I remember it because I said it. I think we were on the phone one time, and I said, she's really loud.
Right.
Has she said anything about it? And you said, she said it was normal. And I was like, okay, well, pediatrician says it's normal.
Right.
All right.
Right. And like, what made me say I wanted a second opinion, like I was laying in the bed and my child was like, in her bedside sleeper and like going to town.
Yeah. So you get to the ENT, and what did they diagnose her with? We
get to the ENT, and they put the scope in her nose, and so the room goes quiet. And I've learned that if you're in an appointment and it goes quiet, something's wrong. And so the room felt quiet. She took it out and she played the video. And Tori had a duct cyst on the back of her tongue. which was causing the breathing issues. And then she also had laryngomalacia, which is common in babies.
Yes.
That I found out that's common in babies. However, they can grow out of it. But in Tori's case, she had so much extra tissue that it was basically closing up her airway.
You hear that? Second opinion, third opinion, fourth opinion if necessary. If you feel like there's something wrong still, it's okay to keep going with your child, with yourself even. So if you wouldn't have done that, what would have happened to Tori if you wouldn't have gotten that second opinion?
She may not be here today.
Very true.
Like, if you look at when we looked at the pictures, I mean,
huge.
Like, the cyst was big. So the cyst was the main problem.
Yeah.
So when they went into, well, let me go back. So the doctor comes, she tells us what it is, and she says, let me see when I can get you on the schedule. So this is the week of Christmas, might I add. So she comes back in and she says, I'll be doing surgeries tomorrow in New Orleans. I need you to come through ER and I'm going to get you on the schedule. Tori's having surgery on tomorrow.
So you go to the doctor's appointment. You don't expect them to say, we're going to do surgery on your 2-month-old baby tomorrow. What happened? What happened next? And what kind of thoughts went through your head as she was saying this?
Might I add, this appointment is at 3:45 in the evening in Baton Rouge. I'm just like, okay. And so I'm a planner.
I know this about you.
I'm a planner. And I just got into, I didn't have time to like think. I just got into the mode of, okay, I gotta go home. I gotta get all of our stuff together. And I have to be in New Orleans. We have to be in New Orleans in the morning. So I called my fiance. I let him know what they said. He was like, okay, we had to, move some things around. And we were in New Orleans the next morning. I mean, literally, I probably didn't get any sleep that night. And yeah, so we were in New Orleans the next morning.
So I know that tour has made you tap into some other emotions, because typically you can, with everything else in your life, you've been able to kind of like, okay, autopilot mode, what I need to do, very logical thinking.
Right.
With your baby, it's made you break down a few times because it's your baby.
Right.
And it's like almost like a piece of you.
Right.
So is that different for you that you get a bad diagnosis or something that you weren't expecting and you actually take the time to sit with those feelings and emotions and break down and feel what you need to feel?
I'm getting there. Cause I'm not, I'll cry, but I'm not like, I'm just kind of like get it done type of person. So, with this, it's like when I'm in the appointment, I'm fine. But then when I have to go to explain it to someone, it's like, what is going on? And then it's cause it's like, I planned and then it's like, I had a great pregnancy and then all hell broke loose. Once I had her. And it's nothing that, it's how she was born.
Yeah.
It's how she was born. But I don't even think the adrenaline was I broke down a few times, but the adrenaline was just pumping and it's like, okay, we gotta get to New Orleans. We in New Orleans. They admit her and it's just the ball just was rolling and rolling and rolling. And so, I really, really broke down when I saw her coming off the anesthesia. Yeah, that was the worst experience. I wasn't prepared for that. And just how she was laying up there in the hospital bed and it's she's 2 months, but she's strong. She's so strong. She's super strong. And, I'm super proud to be her mommy, but, just a little bit more in regards to that. So she had that surgery. It went fine. We made it home right before Friday before Christmas. We spent Christmas at home. Sunday, she stopped latching.
Unexpected, right?
Unexpectedly. And in hindsight, it makes sense because she has a cyst on the back of her tongue. They removed it. She's in the hospital. She's on steroids and medicine. And now she's gone home and the steroid has worn off. And she's in pain. She's in pain.
Yes.
And it's absolutely nothing that I can do to take that pain away.
Yes.
So,
did it make you tap into something else at that time? Because it was just, when you get to the end of yourself and there's nothing you can do about the situation, what do you do?
I got into survival mode. Like, okay, what do I need to do? But the great part about it is I waited so long that I had so many people tell me their story. So I knew, like, I had already tried her with the bottle. So I knew she would take the bottle. And then that forced me to, whereas I had kind of gotten into nursing her, it forced me to go to the pumping side, which was a totally different beast. So it forced me to do some, do some other things.
Yeah.
That I probably would have waited a little bit because I had got comfortable.
It's not what you planned.
It's not what you planned.
Motherhood don't go as planned.
No, because when we discussed it, it's like, okay, you're gonna nurse her for this long, and then you can start pumping a couple of times. So I was pumping a couple of times.
But thank God you had that storage.
I did have some storage.
I forget how many ounces or how many bags of milk you said.
I had like 20 bags.
20 bags of milk. Thank you, Lord. To start you off, so you weren't starting from zero.
Right.
Yes.
Because when I had started pumping, and I get a little bit, and I just freeze it, and I was like, it's not that much, but hey. So I did that, and then that was that. Then the next week, which is the week of New Year's, we went to ER on the Wednesday. Mind you, she had been to ER another time too, so.
Yeah.
She went to ER another time also, prior to, I think, the surgery. Because it's like she was having difficulty breathing.
Yeah.
So.
And you know what that looks like now. Because
yeah.
you experienced it.
Right. So, week of New Year's. Now, the doctor did tell me that when she went in to remove the cyst, that she would look at the laryngomalacia, and if she could, she would. Remove the tissue, as much of it as she could.
Yes.
But that we would probably have to wait about 2 weeks, and then she would have to go back in and remove the rest. And I was like, okay. So I was prepared that there was possibly another surgery.
Yes.
But I was thinking 2 weeks. But the following week, after she stopped latching, like that Tuesday, I mean, she was dragged. Like by Wednesday morning, her throat was collapsing, her chest was collapsing, and I called the doctor. We went straight to ER.
So scared. They
admitted her, and we stayed one night there. And then the next day, her doctor, we went home Thursday. She had the other surgery scheduled for that Friday.
Wow. So another surgery. So this one, she recovered from well, and she were able to get her back on with latching and pumping.
Right.
And now your journey is that you do both. And
right.
It's a beautiful marriage.
And like, mind you, we are in New Orleans, so I have packed up my entire house. Like, I have both pumps, I have all of the bottles.
This is an hour apart, you guys. Baton Rouge and New Orleans is an hour from each other. Well, sometimes kind of like an hour and a half with traffic.
Yes. So we were in PICU for a couple of nights on both, occasions. I mean, I'm set up with everything. And one lady came and she was like, man, you have everything you need. I'm like, yes, like I have to feed my child.
This is my home now. Where she is, I am. So you were so used to the career path, and just this is really different. This is all the feels, all the, the giving of yourself,
yes.
This is happening to a new Nakesha, brand new side.
Right.
I love to see it.
Right.
Okay. So, life is made up of all these little moments, right? And so all of these little moments kind of shape who we are as people, and they make up what we can give and what we can offer to the world. But God uses everything. So we were going to talk about what are kind of 5 moments that you feel like in your life is the biggest impact on who you are today.
Let's see. And a few of these are probably gonna shock you. Number 1, and I'll kind of put them in the order that they happen. Joining the military.
How old were you when that happened?
I was 17 when I went to basic training.
Wow. So what made you get out of high school? I think you went right out of high school, right?
I did.
And say, I want to join the military.
It's so funny because like when the recruiters would come to the school, I was like, I'm not doing that. I would never do that.
Get somebody else to do it.
Yeah. Because like I was not like athletic or anything like that or whatever. But what caught my attention was that they paid for college.
Yeah.
And so I went home and at first I was like, no. And then I thought about it and I told my parents, I was like, I think I'm going to go to the National Guard. And they were like, really? I was like, yeah. They were like, why you want to do that? And I was like, well, they'll pay for me to go to school. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh, and they were like, okay, if that's what you want to do. And so I enlisted and I went to basic training and I did the whole 9 yards.
So the fact that they let you and they let you follow the path that you felt like was laid out for you, you need to go is a beautiful moment too, because some parents would have held the kids back and said, no, you're going to stay home. So did you appreciate the fact that they said, we trust you?
Oh yeah. I mean, my parents, in every decision that we make, as long as we're not killing anybody or hurting anybody, like they support us. They support whatever, like they never tried to push their views on us or what we should do. Yes. They've always supported us in whatever we decided to do. And so that was one of the things that I decided. And so, so the military, graduating college.
So graduating college, what do you feel like?
So I think, let me go back. So I think the military taught me, it gave me the tools and the knowledge, to not overreact in critical situations. Mm-hmm. It taught me discipline. It taught me accountability. It taught me flexibility. And these are all things that I've been able to use in my career. Mm-hmm. It taught me how to adapt. Those are the things that the military instilled in me. I did 6 years.
Wow.
After the 6 years, I was
We're
like,
done. What's next?
Yes. So, and this time I'm in college also. So, I graduated from college and with the bachelor's degree in communication. And so that college taught me how to persevere. Being a first generation college student, it taught me how to be resourceful. Yeah. I couldn't call home and ask them what to do. But I remember my mom always telling me, go see for yourself. Like, don't let anybody tell you. And so I just connected with people and I asked questions and, I excelled because I asked questions and I wanted to know. And
that was me as a child. I was always that person. But why? But why are we doing this? But why does that happen? Like, why do you ask so many questions?
Right.
And look at me, I'm still asking questions.
You're bad. So that's what college taught me. Mm-hmm. And so then the next thing is I am a living organ donor.
Really?
Yes.
Tell me about that. A living organ donor. So who did you donate to, and what organ did you donate?
I donated my kidney to my fiance.
Oh, wow.
That wasn't my fiance at the time.
That is amazingly beautiful. How did this even happen?
When I met him, I knew we knew that there was some health issues.
And how long ago was that?
I donated the kidney in 2016. So we come 2014.
Okay.
So we're coming up on the 7-year anniversary.
So y'all are really a piece of each other.
Yes. I only share this with people that are like in my circle. So this is new territory for me or whatever. Because everybody doesn't understand.
Yeah.
And everybody looks at things differently. And I'll tell you what the topic, but let me kind of give you the story. So
yes, please.
We knew there were some health issues, so and he had been diagnosed with like stage 1 of kidney disease, chronic kidney disease.
Okay.
And by 2016, it was I think it went to stage 4, stage 5.
Wow.
So the first thing was he was a candidate for home dialysis.
Okay.
And
so young too, because how old is he now?
He'll be 43 this year.
Okay. So this was
7 years ago. So
yeah.
latter 30s.
Yeah.
And like, mind you, healthy, no health issues.
Just not in his family, not
right. So still to this day, don't really know how it developed.
Wow.
So yeah, so we it went to stage 4 or 5. So once he got there, they had to put the port in for home dialysis.
Mm-hmm.
Put the port in the stomach. He was literally on home dialysis just shy of a year.
Wow.
But in that process, I was there. So I was...
And y'all have been dating now.
We have
years.
been, dating.
And
so I was there for the home dialysis portion of it, like just having to be at home at a certain time to hook up to the machine. And then from there, just not really being able to travel. I saw it all. And yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah. Did you expect that when you are dating somebody that, okay, life's supposed to be fun and free and you doing things together, and all of a sudden this diagnosis is robbing you from all of that?
Right. So went through like the home. So I'm there, through all of that, and I was like, what are the options? Because I would go to the doctor, and so we got to the point where they were talking about adding him to the list, to the donor list,
mm-hmm.
and what that process looked like. And then, but they were like, if you have a living donor, they tell you what what the odds are, things like that, with versus a deceased donor.
Right. Somebody that just passed away that they.
Correct. So I was there for all of that, and some of it is a blur, but ultimately I decided that I knew that I wanted to get tested.
Mm-hmm.
I just at least wanted to see.
So did you think you were going to be a match, or were you kind of expecting or hoping to be a match, or kind of just whatever happened?
I wanted to be a match. Okay. I did. Mm-hmm. I wanted to be a match because I saw who he was as. So let me go back a little bit, because like most people are like, oh, you gave your kidney to your boyfriend, and it's like, let's take dating off the table. Let's take that off the table.
Let's just take that he's a person that I care about, that I want to stay here.
Right. Let's take that off the table. So this is my brother in Christ, mm-hmm. that has a need, and I can possibly fulfill that need.
That's incredibly selfless, because I'm sure at this point you weren't even thinking about that, okay, I'm going to be living with one kidney, even though you really can just live with one kidney.
Right.
Be perfectly fine without having any kind of issues.
Right.
Just so you know.
Yeah.
But
I have one.
Yes. Because you have to. So this is your brother in Christ, and you're like, wow, I can give him my kidney.
Yeah, he has a need. Mm-hmm. But I saw who he was, like his character was unwavering. Like I saw who he was as a father, as a son, as a friend, as a coworker. And I was like, and he has a daughter. And I was like, she deserves to get to have her dad at her graduation and at all of her life moments. And so I was like, yeah, I think I want to do this. And, he, like, when we discussed it, when I said, I just want to see if I'm a match, he didn't want me to.
Because he felt like he didn't want you to make that sacrifice for him. Right.
And we talked about it. And what happened? I had to tell him this story. Mm-hmm. So I was like, I said, well, first of all, because if I decide to do this, that doesn't mean that if something happens and we're not together, that's okay. Because I'm not doing it.
That's what he was thinking.
I'm not doing it for that particular reason, because things happen or whatever. Because the thing about it is, you're still that person. It just maybe does not work between us. And so I don't know why people feel like you have to, hate somebody or whatever, but that's not who I am. So I made that clear first. And then I told him, I was like, you remember the story? I was like, I don't know if you ever heard this story, but the man that was in the middle of the ocean in the boat, and he kept saying, God save me, God save me. And God sent 3 different things to save him. Mm-hmm. And he died because he kept saying, God's going to save me, God's going to save me. And so when he got to heaven, he said, God, why didn't you save me? He said, I sent the boat, I sent the plane, I sent all these things.
You got to open your eyes to see when God is sending somebody, sending your help.
Right. Yeah. And when I told that story, he said, I understand. I see what you're saying. It's okay for you, to go and get tested. So I went and got it. But this is the funny part is my best friend was like, oh, if you get tested, I'm getting tested too.
And she barely knew him. Well, I guess she
knew him through me. Yeah.
There was no even real connection there.
Right.
Her love for you made her want to help you with whatever you were doing in that way.
Right.
That's beautiful.
So we both got tested. And the crazy part is, we've been friends for over 20 years. Mm-hmm. When we got the call, I remember it was I think it was November. Excuse me, November. Yeah, I think it was November of, must be 2015.
Yeah.
And we got the call, and the lady was like, is that your sister that also got tested? And I was like, no, that's my best friend. And she was like, you guys' blood work mirrored one another.
Oh my God.
She said, either one of you guys can be the match. So you just have to decide who's going to be the match.
What are the odds? Because usually when you test the whole family, you tested, nobody's a match. It's still going to be this. And the fact that he had 2 matches from basically, you mentioned some years ago, in the world, they feel like it's so young into dating. And his girlfriend's best friend.
Yeah, we both got tested. We both were matches, but it confirmed to me that God was saying, I got you no matter what. I got you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, ultimately I decided that I would do it. Mm-hmm. And we went forward with that process. And
so y'all both came home and healed together.
Yeah, I came home first because the donor doesn't stay as long. But if people know anything about kidney transplants or whatever, there could be rejection. There's different things that can happen because it is a foreign object that is, going into another person's body. But if you know anything, one thing is that for you to be a non-family member and be a match is like slim to none.
Right. That's why I said that. And for him to have two is slim to none. He was meant to be here, and y'all were meant to meet, if not for any reason, but for that reason.
Right. It's slim to none. So the other thing is the morning of the surgery. So our families, we all went and stayed down in New Orleans, and we had dinner the night before. And that morning we got up, and I was like, okay, let's pray before we go to the hospital, just he and I. And so I prayed and I said, God, when they attach the kidney, please allow it to work instantaneously, like it belongs in his body. When they attached, the doctor came back and said when they attached it, it immediately started working, and it has never rejected. It has never.
Come on, girl.
He has never been hospitalized. It's been next month will be 7 years.
And I'm sure that experience, and if you think about it, it was preparation for you with the medical things that you've gone through with Tori.
Correct.
Because it was familiar.
Correct.
And it was a test that you had already passed.
And it taught me that selflessness, and it taught me unconditional love. And I say that because I've heard people say that, why is she doing that? Why would she do that? Or why hasn't he married her? Different things like that or whatever. But which lets me know that people's love is conditional.
Yeah.
And so, it taught me unconditional love.
God love, agape love.
Right.
Wow.
So that was 3.
That is incredible. Okay, 2 more. Look, that set the bar high. It's high right there. So, no, actually, yeah, you got 2 more.
What?
So, becoming a fiance.
Becoming a fiance. That.
Well, first of all, when did you get engaged?
Okay, so we got engaged October of 2020.
Okay. So right before you decided that you were going to go forward with having a baby, or actually, was it kind of in the midst of it?
Well, we had already made the decision, and that we were going to try, and then I had the myomectomy in November of 2020.
Okay.
Yeah, November of 2020. Okay. So I got engaged October of 2020.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow. I love that y'all are doing it y'all's way. Your way.
It's so funny you say that because we say that all the time. Like, it's not right or wrong way, to do it. But, people, society have this thing where it's like, oh, you gotta meet the man, be engaged in a year, have a wedding the next year.
Yes, because it's no way possible for you to be engaged for more than a year.
Right.
That's wrong.
Right. Then once you get married, when y'all having kids, then you had a kid, and they're like, when you don't have
another one.
So society has this, this thing, and so
we were engaged for 2.5 years before we got married.
Well, girl, we're going on 4.
Yeah.
And I'm not in my thing. I wanted to enjoy my engagement.
Yeah. That's a phase. People need to enjoy every phase of their journey to its fullest.
Right. So we got engaged in 2020, and then that has taught me how to take care of the needs of someone else besides myself.
Yeah.
I took care of me for, just me.
Yeah.
So with me, I can stop at the fast food restaurant and get something.
Yeah.
Or whatever I had for lunch, I can save that for dinner.
When you feed yourself, your whole family ate. My mom always say that. Your whole family ate. Now you feed yourself. Tay, I'm sure y'all, reciprocate and feed each other. But, the babies, Tori, you feed a lot of people.
I'm feeding a lot of people. So it taught me that. It taught me how to take care of the needs of someone else and not just myself. And then ultimately, the last thing is becoming a mother. Yeah. And all of those other experiences has given me the drive and the tools in my toolbox to be a mother to Tori.
It was all preparation.
It was all preparation.
Isn't it amazing? Preparation for the thing that you never wanted.
that I was okay either way.
That you were okay either way. That's gonna be the title of your. I was okay either way. So let's go back a little bit. Okay. So I always like to say. So let me ask this question: how has motherhood changed you? Because I know we talked a little bit about that. It's softened some areas and it's made you not be able to think so logically all the time. What are some other areas that has changed you in?
It's changing me to, in a sense of, how do I want to say it? That I'm not just raising a baby. I'm raising a human being.
Yeah.
And like, if we think about it, like, everybody's raised by somebody.
Yeah.
And so I just want to raise her to be the most kindest human being that she can be, because kindness will take her a long way.
Yeah.
Just kindness and being humble. And that's how, like, it's changing me to just want to be the best version of myself.
Yeah. Yeah, it makes you kind of look at all of those areas that, places that you tried to hide or cover up, the stains that we like to call it, and try and figure out, like, how can I make this part clean?
Right.
But we can't make it clean.
Right.
We surrender those areas to God to make clean.
Yeah, because she's looking at me now. Like,
yeah.
I have a mini me.
And she looks just like her, y'all. She has your whole entire face.
I know, like, someone told me that I stole my mama's face, so Tori stole my face.
And, well, I can tell you this, you definitely have all the tools that you need to raise her to be the kindest, most amazing human being ever.
Thank you.
Because you are an amazing person to be around. Your energy, your light, your life, the fact that you said yes to this interview to share your story with the world, that takes courage.
It does.
Yeah.
And like I said, I'm very private. So if this just helps one person, like, it was worth me telling my story. So
I also like to say that, life is a journey, not a destination. So the last few things, what are you journeying through right now?
So we talked about what I've journeyed through, but I'm trying to navigate home, work-life balance, preparing to go back to work, not quite ready for her to go to daycare.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm journeying through all of those things.
Yeah.
So
you're starting therapy.
Yes.
That's incredible.
To be continued.
Because we're always journeying through something.
Yes.
So what are you journeying to? What do you see? What does Nakesha look like in the next year or even the next 5 years from now?
Well, I'm journeying to being the very best mommy that I could be to Tori. I'm journeying to becoming a wife. So those things are going hand in hand together. They're happening simultaneously. And I'm journeying to I'm gonna be called Tori's mom and my fiance's wife. But I want everybody to remember that I have a name.
Yes.
I have a first name.
I'm so big on that, maintaining a sense of who you are and self-love, self-awareness.
Right.
Identity in marriage, your identity in motherhood, because you can get so wrapped up in your family that you forget that you were a whole person before you had this family. And you have other impact and other reach. And so don't lose that.
Yes.
The fact that you are actively putting tools in place to not lose that is so important.
Right.
Work's going to feel different. It's going to feel like, because before you were able to, you had your fiance and you had your career, and because he's an adult, he didn't need as much as a baby.
Right.
And so you were able to do more at work, and it was able to be more of a priority in your life. Work is going to feel secondary. Yeah. And that's going to be different, because you're going to feel in your mind less productive because you have less mental energy to put into work.
It's so funny you say that, because like we just had that conversation about what does it, me going back to work, like what does that look like? And I partially work from home, and so I know that I'll have to shut it down at 5 o'clock. Yes, boundaries. Like I can't say, just one more thing or whatever. So we're talking about what that looks like, and so that's what I'm journeying to. And then I'm also journeying through still breastfeeding. Mm-hmm. Like my goal is to breastfeed her for a year, and I'm 4 months in. I have 8 more to go.
And I can tell you that that's about to get better and different, because you're about to start incorporating other foods soon in the next couple months. And it's going to be more, less like she's getting all of her nutrition just from you, and it doesn't feel as burdensome.
Right.
It moves from that, okay, I have to make sure that I have this amount, to, okay, it's a compliment, to what she's eating, and it feels better. So I can't wait for you to get to that stage as well.
Exactly. So.
And the last thing, thinking about your life, what about it inspires the greatness in others?
That's a good question. I think I've had the opportunity to participate in something that's selfless. Mm-hmm. And so I hope from that, people see that organ donation is possible, living and not just being deceased. Because, some people are organ donors. However, they do it when they die.
Yeah.
And so that organ donation, is a possibility while you're living. I also want women to know that don't let society tell you that you can't have a baby if you're 40 or over. And that with organ donation, sometimes God gives us two sets of things, and that it may not be all just for you. It may be for you to give it to someone else.
Yeah, your overflow.
Yes.
That's one of my words for this year, overflow.
Yes.
So you gave him your overflow.
I did.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. So we're gonna put this way behind me so y'all can see my outfit, right? You cute girl. So I would like to give you a gift today. Okay. And it's actually from Solux Beauty.
Okay.
And I know when you came in, you said, "Oh my gosh, I always wanted some magnetic eyelashes, right?"
Yes.
And so this is some magnetic eyelashes from them, some lip gloss.
Ooh.
If you want to shop, you can hit the link below. But this is something I just wanted to give as a token, saying thank you for sharing your story with the world today and sharing it on this platform, because we don't know how many people it's going to reach, but we know it's going to reach the people that it needs to. And so I thank you for your vulnerability and for your bravery. And you did it. We did our first interview, y'all. It is over. Thank you for watching. Make sure you subscribe, share this, and if you have somebody that you feel like it would touch and help, please send it to them. It is not just for you. Organ donation is necessary and it's possible even while you're alive. You can have a baby over 40 and still thrive. The military will birth greatness in you. Don't think this just because of what you hear about it, that it's not something that can help you. All the things that your life shares with the world is necessary for people to hear. So thank you for doing so. And we out. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right. That's it.